This is the Pulse of St. Louis.
Welcome to the Pulse of St. Louis. I'm Shirley, Washington. You know, the workplace changed dramatically because of COVID, and it is still evolving amid the pandemic. In fact, RedKey Realty Leaders, a local real estate agency, is opening a new office with social distancing options. Joining us now is Jill Butler, CEO and founder of RedKey Realty Leaders. Jill, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you are in the business of helping clients find new homes and new office spaces, and now you are opening a new office. Why are you relocating?
So our lease was up, and at first we were a little bit, oh no, this is a pain during COVID to have to think of moving, but then we looked at it as an opportunity. So we want to have a new office, new space, a place for people to come back to. And it was just a really interesting, fun project to work on during COVID.
Yeah, so tell me about the new office, and did COVID actually play a big role in your decision to move?
Yes, and it's kind of interesting. It was around the time when people are talking about we're going to cut back on office space and people may work from home here on out and everyone's reducing their footprint. And especially in the beginning when we didn't really know how things were going to turn out, we were right on the cusp of trying to decide if we were going to sign this lease. And we just said, you know what, we're going to lean into this. We're going to go forward, all guns blazing. We're going to go forward. So we doubled the space of our office. And in part, we just wanted to create a new place for people to come back to. So it was a restaurant that had closed, and we wanted something unique, kind of outside the box, and we wanted a community space. So when you think about it, I think something great we learned during COVID was we can still do our work from home, and at the same time, we still need connection. So I think it was Starbucks that talked about there's a third place. It's not work, it's not home, it's the third place. I feel like offices can become the third place where, you bring your humanity, you bring your human self and you do work, but at the same time, you may want interesting spaces or to collaborate, or you may need time where you need to be apart from people. So we have lots of small huddle rooms that are definitely going to be safe and distance if we ever need that. And also we have outdoor spaces. We have 2 outdoor spaces, so you can sit outside and get fresh air and keep working and meet your clients.
That is awesome. We were looking at pictures of the construction. How long did it take to actually renovate your new space?
Probably 6 months. I mean, the process started in the fall, but then working with the contracts and the architects and the permitting and all of these things. So we finally finished and we are moved in and still getting our furnishings put in place, but it was 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, so tell me about the pandemic and its impact on the design and the culture of your new office.
So I may be going against the grain right now, but I just feel like if anything from COVID, we realized how very important human connection is and being together. I saw a study where empathy goes down when you are on Zoom. And in any business, but I think especially in real estate, we desperately need empathy as we help our clients through all these challenges. And we need to see each other. We need to see our clients and we need to see our coworkers. So I wanted to have an inviting place for people to come back, to meet their clients, to have community events. If anything, I just feel more appreciative and thankful to be around people again.
Yeah, and then tell us, Jill, about the safety protocols that are in place in regards to COVID, because we mentioned the social distancing.
Yeah, so we have plenty of space, and again, we can distance the workspaces. We have I think before COVID, everyone wanted the open office. And then with COVID, people couldn't go into the office. In our other space, if you had your own private office, you could go in and close the door and it would be okay to work there. So this time, we put lots of tiny, small rooms where, again, you can social distance but have an office space to work in. So that with the outdoor area, which is social but also workspace, just making sure there's lots of different options.
Yeah. And Jill, you are a thought leader when it comes to fostering conversations about important issues such as diversity and inclusion. Are you planning to implement new initiatives in that regard in the new workplace?
Yeah, I think as an office in general, and I really think real estate as an industry. So a few things we've been doing, and we were doing this on Zoom during COVID, but we formed a diversity and inclusion committee. And then we've been doing a book study on a book called The Color of Law, which is a lot about real estate, fair housing, redlining, history that many people don't know about, that I didn't know about. So we start there. It's going to start with education, and then we're going to look at what changes can we make. I think real estate has had some challenges and bad practices in the past, but I think there's also great privilege in working in this field of like, what can we do to reimagine? What can we do going forward? So I really think it starts with education. Some initiatives that we're working on, we are talking to other real estate companies locally and nationally, but just how important education is for realtors in fair housing, in diversity and inclusion, and looking for ways we can make this a part of real estate training for every single agent. So it's a long process, but we look at what's working, what can we do, how can we help be solution oriented.
And then talking about being solution oriented, especially when it comes to fair housing, what exactly is being done in that regard, as well as in hiring practices, Jill, to make sure everyone gets a fair shake?
So in reality, I think it's a big issue and a complicated issue. So I think it starts with education, because where I run into problems, occasionally I'll talk to agents and they will say, not my problem. That wasn't me. That was 100 years ago. That was 50 years ago. So for me, I think the first step in my position, what I can do is foster communication. So sort of like listening to all different sides. So inclusion means there's a seat at the table for everyone, whatever your beliefs, your background, your perspective is. And I think that really strengthens a group and a company, because they help, different perspectives help you see around corners that you can't see. Like I have my perspective and it's very limited. So when I talk to someone who has a different perspective, that gives me more knowledge, more like a wider view of things. So there are definitely steps we can take. I think the first one is education, because I think part of it is, there's a book called Cast, and she used an analogy of saying, you may have purchased a home, you may live in a home, and there's some problems in the home, but you say, you know what, the home was built 200 years ago. I didn't build this house, it's not my problem, but maybe the roof starts leaking. So you can either say, I didn't build this house, not my problem, or you can say, I need to know everything about this house, and how can the roof is leaking, how do we fix this? How do we go forward? So I feel like the first step, especially in real estate and in our community, is awareness. And that's where helping bring books and thought leaders to St. Louis to talk about what's going on. And then, we may not agree, but I want us to be the most educated realtors around in learning the history and this industry that we live in, this house we live in. So on inclusion, we are talking to St. Louis Associates of Realtors, we're talking to some other groups on what changes can we implement, raising awareness, maybe making it a standard part of anyone who is licensed, things like that, just that we have that knowledge and we are learning, continuing to learn. And then when it comes to hiring, I think it's just we tend to hire people that we know that maybe are in our social circles. So just always looking at, we want inclusive, diverse perspectives, because that makes us stronger as a company and makes us stronger as a community.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the housing market in the St. Louis area, because when we spoke last, it was highly competitive. Is that still the scenario?
Yes, it is. Everyone's talking about it and seeing it, but it's a great time to sell. You can still buy. The interest rates are wonderful. If you're going to buy, have a really good team around you, be prepared and be patient. You may write a few different contracts. So it's a very strong market. I will say, sometimes when a client doesn't get the house they wrote on, the first house, and they're so sad, and then they write on another house or two, and when they end up with the house they get, it's usually the one they really love. So be patient, don't give up. It is still, especially with interest rates, a great time to buy.
So Jill, what is the best advice for people who are entering the market for the first time to buy their first home? What are some of the things they should consider?
Don't go it alone. You need a team. You need a really good team with you. So you need to have a good lender, because it's a fast market and competitive. So it can't be, I'm going to write a contract and then I'll get my financing in order. You need to have all your ducks in a row. Have a good agent, because sometimes you have to be more creative. The inventory's tight, so they have to look outside the box. They may send letters. They may do doing different networks to find things that aren't on the market to help you find that home. And there are different things, like you may have to put down more earnest money. Sometimes we see people waiving appraisal riders. So it's just different things like that. And an agent and your team can help protect you, but also kind of explain the pros and cons and what it may take to get a home.
And so if you are in the market to sell a home, Jill, is it best to find and purchase your new home before you put your current home on the market?
So again, everyone's situation is different, and talk to your realtor, talk to the people on your team, because there are many different ways to do it. Some people are able to go ahead and purchase and then sell their home. Others have to do kind of simultaneous, close on one and then buy the next one. One of my coworkers, he just sold his house, got a great price, and he is going to live downtown in a high rise, one Cardinal Way, and pretend he's on vacation for a year and just enjoy life renting. And then he's going to take his time buying. So again, look at kind of what your goals are and what looks good to you.
Good advice. Going back to your new location, when will the new office be opened?
So our grand opening is next Thursday. So we're having an open house, food and drink and music. And again, we just love to have this be a community space. Agents are using it for client events. We've had graduation parties. We're doing a charity concert that same evening, raising money for the Down Syndrome Association of Greater St. Louis. So we just hope it's a place for people to come and be together.
Awesome. Jill Butler, CEO and founder of RedKey Realty Leaders, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your leadership in the community.
Thank you.